Huge new developments in the Malaysian Airlines shootdown story. Award-winning former Associated Press reporter Robert Pärri has been told by an intelligence source that the United States is in possession of satellite imagery which shows that Ukrainian troops were responsible for the shootdown of Malaysian Airlines Flight 17. In the absence of any proper investigation, media rhetoric over the last few days has firmly pointed the finger of blame for the downing of the aircraft on Russian-backed Ukrainian rebels, but Pärri's source tells a different story. What I've been told by one source who has provided accurate information on similar matters in the past is that US intelligence agencies do have detailed satellite images of the likely missile battery that launched the fateful missile, but the battery appears to have been under the control of Ukrainian government troops dressed in what look like Ukrainian uniforms, writes Pärri. The source said CIA analysts were still not ruling out the possibility that the troops were actually Eastern Ukrainian rebels in similar uniforms, but the initial assessment was that the troops were Ukrainian soldiers. There was also the suggestion that the soldiers involved were undisciplined and possibly drunk, since the imagery showed what looked like beer bottles scattered around the site, the source said. Although the establishment press has attempted to deride any questioning of the official narrative that Ukrainian rebels were responsible for the incident by citing either Russian propaganda or invoking the tired conspiracy theory pejorative, Pärri can hardly be dismissed as a crank given his key role in covering the Iran-Contra scandal for the Associated Press and Newsweek. Indeed, Pärri's investigative work on intelligence matters, for which he was given the George Polk Award, suggests that the information provided by his source is worthy of serious attention. US and Ukrainian authorities continue to insist that Moscow-backed separatists were responsible for the tragedy, asserting that a Buk missile system was used to bring down the airliner. However, this was contradicted by Ukraine's Prosecutor General Vitaly Yurima, who stated, quote, "The military told the president after the passenger plane had been shot down that the terrorists did not possess our Buk missile system." So basically, Pärri's source is about as credible as all the mainstream media rhetoric and all the hype from the Ukrainian and the US government, because basically the evidence that they've presented to finger Ukrainian separatists as being responsible for the downing of the airliner in the absence of a full and proper investigation basically amounts to YouTube videos and social media posts. We've seen absolutely no concrete, hard evidence showing Ukrainian rebels being responsible for this incident. Does that mean that they weren't responsible for it? No. But it means that this source, according to Robert Pärri, who is a highly respected investigative journalist, cracked open many of the issues surrounding the Iran-Contra scandal for the Associated Press and Newsweek. This isn't some internet crank. This isn't some guy on YouTube making a video. This is a serious, credible investigative reporter who you would expect has built up many good sources in his decades of covering intelligence matters. And that source is telling him that, in all likelihood, it was Ukrainian forces, Ukrainian military, that were responsible for shooting down Malaysian Airlines Flight 17, and that the United States has satellite images which prove this fact. So, of course, the NATO-aligned media is firmly behind the explanation, in the absence of any full and proper investigation, that Putin-backed separatists were responsible for the shootdown, because, I mean, look at it in context. We've got BRICS recently announcing an alternative to the dollar system. We've got Ukrainian forces getting their hind ends kicked in many areas of eastern Ukraine. We have the sanctions against Russia basically being completely impotent. And we've got this mass media push basically for some kind of new Cold War or even World War III. So it's unsurprising that they're all out in force, in unison, blaming Putin, blaming Russia for this tragedy without any real concrete evidence. In fact, experts have analysed the audio tape, the YouTube video put out by the Ukrainian government alleging rebels claiming responsibility for the downing of the airliner. And these experts have concluded that the audio tape is fabricated, that it's a fake. And again, we've seen no hardcore evidence released to point either way. I mean, Ukrainian rebels may well have been responsible, but equally, so could have Ukrainian forces, Ukrainian troops. So this source who talked to Robert Pэрri, again, award-winning, George Polk award-winning investigative reporter, worked on Iran-Contra for Newsweek and the Associated Press. His source is telling him that the US has got satellite images which show Ukrainian troops, in all likelihood, behind the shootdown of Malaysian Airlines Flight 17. Bombshell revelation, and should be treated with equal importance as are the allegations as yet unsubstantiated against the Ukrainian rebels and Russia. We'll continue to track this. This is Paul Joseph Watson reporting for Infowars.com.